go ahead and do appointments where we have a single appointment to deal with today, since we removed 5 at the top of today's actions. So we have number 4, which is to receive, review, and select between 2 candidates to fill an at-large position vacancy on the Ag Advisory Committee. And will there be a presentation as part of this? Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, a short, very short presentation on my part, but it is recommended to the board. I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. Good morning, Chair Lopez, members of the board, Mr. McKee, Mr. Gerard. Sorry about that. Dealing with my family. So it is recommended to the board that you receive, review, and select between 2 candidates to fill an at-large position vacancy on the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Back on June 25th of this year, we held a meeting and tried to choose between the 2, but ended up with 2 votes, both of them a tie for one and for the other candidate. So it was the agreement and recommendation of the Ag Advisory Committee to so to speak, the decision to the board. So the 2 candidates, Ms. White and Mr. Ferguson, I believe you have their background information. In my opinion, both would be excellent candidates from them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. I'll see if we have any public comment on this item. Seeing nobody in the room, I'll turn to the Zoom. I see a hand up from Amy White. Amy, we'll go ahead and unmute you, and as a candidate, we'll go ahead and give you 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I had to pull over in my vehicle. Thank you, Chair Lopez and supervisors, for the opportunity to address you. And of course, thank you for the opportunity to serve the county in which I love. I was lucky to study under Secretary Leon Panetta in graduate school, and he really instilled in us as students public service. And my intention is to serve the county that I really love and respect. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to either supporting Mr. Ferguson if he's chosen, or serving the county on the AAC. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Seeing no hands going up, I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor.
Hello.
Give me some feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll go ahead and move that we appoint Amy White to this position. She was the Agricultural Committee's choice originally, and I think we can go ahead and follow through on that.
I'll second that motion and add a comment that I really think she brings a lot to the table, particularly as a representative of the only cannabis testing business that we have in Monterey County, which gives her an opportunity to work with a lot of different, the multiple growers, because they would all have to come through the testing program at one point or another. And I also like it that she has a local approach, and I also like it that she brings the gender diversity to the commission as well.
Okay.
Do a substitute motion for Michael Ferguson.
Okay, so I have a motion, a second, and then a substitute motion.
Second on the substitute motion.
A second on the substitute. So at this point, protocol is we take the substitute motion first. I'll see if there's any additional direction. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on the substitute motion.
Supervisor Alejo?
Aye.
Supervisor Phillips?
Aye.
Supervisor Parker?
No?
Supervisor Adams?
No.
And Chair Supervisor Lopez?
Yes, the motion carries 3-2. Start with item number 10, which is the presentation from the Ag Commissioner on the pesticide notification near schools pilot project program. Ag Commissioner Gonzalez.
Good morning for a couple more minutes. Chair Lopez, members of the board, Mr. Marquis, Mr. Gerard, Henry Gonzalez here, Agricultural Commissioner, reporting from my safe office. Today I will be reporting to you about the pesticide notification in school pilot project. This is the final report that I'm reporting on. As a pilot project, this effort was a test or a trial in which we could learn. And in that regard, the project was a success. And we learned several things, but we also learned that we don't know everything about this particular effort. I have a PowerPoint presentation here that I'm hoping somebody can open up for me. It should be loaded up.
Yeah, Julian's in process, give him just a second.
Thank you. So I'm going to first line go through Julian. So I'll be talking about the project, what we were supposed to do, what we were looking for, what we found, and then some remaining questions there at the end, and a bit of discussion on the entire project. Slide number 2, please. So this project started back in 2016, and it was due to heightened awareness around fumigant use near schools. Now, fumigants are some of the most toxic pesticides used in agriculture, and they are also the most closely regulated by US EPA, Department of Pesticide Regulation, and California Ag Commissioners. I do want to share here at the beginning that in the past 12 years, there has not been any ag pesticide-related illnesses at any school in Monterey County. Next slide, please. So the project goals, we received in 2016 a grant of $75,000 to develop and provide parents, students, teachers, school employees, the community information about fumigant use on farmland within a quarter mile of 3 schools in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. One of the components of the project was community outreach. The other was the creation of a website. And the content of the website was to provide not just information, but notification to schools, specifically to the administration, staff, and families. Next slide, please. The Ag Commissioner at the time, Eric Lorenzo, he put together a really great team to run this pilot project. And I'm very proud of the work that they did and my participation in this project. Tracy Townsend guide, she's now retired, but she's provided project oversight, and her extensive experience in leading such pesticide investigative projects was invaluable to the project. Dr. Jo Perot, she provided her medical expertise to develop much of the medical information on the website. You can still find it there under Health Facts. Stephanie McGurtry, she conducted the stakeholder outreach, which provided us the basis for the direction and the design of the website and the direction of the project itself. And then our own Heather Healy, Chief Deputy Agricultural Commissioner, she was our office manager of this project and the team lead. Next slide, please. This is just a graphic to show the various stakeholders in this project, and they were not just stakeholders, they really provided contributions to the project, and so they were, in my mind, they were really part of the project, all of the stakeholders. You'll see that in the middle we have the families of Pajaro Valley Unified School District students. To me, this having them in the middle of this graphic really symbolizes that they were the main focus of this project, at least in my mind. Next slide, please. So the community engagement, it involved interviews. There were 12 in-depth interviews that were conducted countywide with stakeholders, including organizations such as the Rural Shippers Association, Farm Bureau, the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council, as well as Pajaro Valley Unified School District as stakeholders. And it included principals from the 3 schools, also Migrant Education, Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers, and their safety officers. The discussion followed a guide, but the participants in this outreach were also allowed to make additional questions and statements. It wasn't just the guide, but the guide did follow, allow us to follow a specific course of questions. Throughout these meetings, there was also a couple of focus groups conducted with the families that attended migrant education and school site council meetings. The information gathered helped guide the development of the website content. Next slide, please. Okay, so in 2017, we received a second grant. This was for $94,240 to continue the project up until June 30th of this year. This grant had a lot more detail to it. It was supplement to the previous grant, but allowed us to do more specifically. There were requirements, and we fulfilled them all. There was 3 meetings with Pajaro Valley Unified School District Superintendent, also the Santa Cruz County Ag Commissioner, and various grant team members. And we established a very strong relationship with the superintendent of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, Dr. Michelle Rodriguez, in these meetings. That was most helpful. There was also a couple of meetings with in Salinas and Pajaro for growers who would be fumigating within a quarter mile of the project schools, also with the pest control advisors and the pest control businesses that would be conducting the fumigation. We also took those opportunities to provide them new regulatory changes, updates, as well as with our permit and the permit program. There was also 8 continuing education sessions required with growers, pest control advisors, pest control businesses, to provide them also with the regulatory change. There was 8 of these sessions a year, 4 in Spanish, 4 in English, and they were held in Salinas and King City. We also needed to hold additional pesticide use near schools notification meetings with growers. And this is to address the new pesticide notification regulation that came to be into place in 2018. And so we needed to bring those growers up to speed on the new regulations. We also had a couple of meetings with the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council and the Safe Ag, Safe Schools folks to evaluate the website content. And this grant also included that we would expand the project to the North Monterey County Unified School District. Next slide, please. This is a shot of from the website itself. And this was the second most notable, maybe the first most notable component of the pilot notification project was the farming places near the school stuff. And it's still up and live if you ever want to go there. Initially, the site was just providing information about farming practices, the Q&A, the regulatory requirements, the health information, and then later the electronic notifications came into place. And this was all for the schools within a quarter mile of Pajaro Middle School, Hall District Elementary, and Alonia Elementary School, all within the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. With the additional funding, we were able to update the website and include as part of the expansion, 7 schools of the North Monterey County Unified School District. We were also able to translate the entire website into Spanish, so now there's 2 regions you can toggle between them, whichever version you like, the English or the Spanish. And then we were also able to provide notifications to stakeholders through text messaging as well. Next slide, please. This is just a screenshot from the website. The box there, the red box, it shows where the 3 schools in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, where we started the project, are in that square or rectangular. Next slide, please. And this here slide is another continuation of kind of the same shot, but it includes now almost a square that includes the 7 schools in the North Monterey County Unified School District. So you can see what's on the website. Next slide, please. If you were to click on any one of those schools, it would open up a window like you see here in this shot with the school. I believe that's Hall District School. Go back, please. Hall District School there in the middle, and there's this red and white dotted circle around it. That's the quarter-mile area that we identified which are the growers inside and within a quarter mile of the school. And you can see in that interesting green, those are the farms around the school, around this particular school. You can do that with any of the schools, and it will show you which are the farms, where is the farm, in case you can't see it. In some of that hilly terrain, you can't see the farm, but with this overhead shot, you can see where the farm is. The project also requires that growers submit their notice of intent to fumigate 5 days prior to fumigating. And then we uploaded that notice of intent, and then we distributed it to those individuals who signed up for the notification, either via email or text. So in one of our permit conditions, we require those growers that if they submit their notice of intent to us 5 days in advance. Otherwise, they would only be required to submit that notice of intent 48 hours in advance. And that's just for fumigating. Next slide, please. So this is one of the most popular features, at least that I hear about, is the notification. You can sign up for the notification. It is up in the upper right-hand part of the website. You can click it, and then it has this drop-down of all of the schools. You can see them listed on the left-hand side, and then if you wanted to sign up for the notification, you put your email address there on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. This here slide just shows if you wanted to get the notification via text, you could also do that. Next slide, please. Some of the what the notifications show during the entire life of the project, which really we were only able to do notifications in 2018, 2019, and this year. But during the life of the project, there were 73 sign-ups for text notifications and 161 sign-ups for email notifications. Now, we started with the email notifications, and that may be why there's many more than the text notification sign-up. Those came later as an improvement on the website, and there might be some duplication. Folks may have signed up initially for the email and then decided to go to text. So they may have both. But either way, those are the numbers: 73 text notifications, 161 email notifications. Just to keep things in perspective, in the county in 2018, we had 113,000 pesticide applications. And of those 113,000 applications in 2018, 12,800 included at least one restricted use pesticide. And all of the fumigants are restricted use pesticides. But you can see here in the slide that in 2018 there was 6 notices of intent that fell within the requirements of the project, and we issued 8 notifications. So there were 8 individuals that requested the notification. In 2019, there were 7 such fumigations that required an NOI, or notice of intent, and there were 9 notifications we distributed. And this year, there's been, at least to the point of this graphic, there was 3 notices of intent and 4 notifications that we sent out. Just to keep things in perspective, there's 113,000 applications and 12,800 that have restricted material. So, a big difference. Next slide, please. So in June of 2018, we had a soft launch of the website. Soft because we wanted to test the site out to see if we couldn't have any issues, technical issues or what. And it was a good idea in hindsight that we had this soft launch, because indeed there were some issues, but also there were some really great ideas that came out of us putting this out as a soft launch, and the improvement that was suggested afterward was the translation into Spanish, and then the addition of the text feature in the website. So it was good that we did that. But then in April 24th of 2019, we held a press conference, and the press conference was primarily to help us get the word out there. I felt that there wasn't sufficient information. People didn't know about the website, let alone the fumigation, etc. So I wanted to have this event and have folks there to tell them about the website, so that they could go there and sign up if they wanted, and just become more aware. It was a great success, I think. We had some individuals there to support and encourage participation in the project. We had Pajaro Valley Unified School District Superintendent Dr. Michelle Rodriguez there, Department of Regulation and Environmental Justice Liaison Martha Sanchez, also there, and both of them spoke, and also Monterey Bay Central Labor Council Executive Director Cesar Lara, who was also involved with this project since the very beginning, and also signed a letter of support for the project back in the day. He was also there. And it was at that time we announced the expansion into the North Monterey County Unified School District. After the press conference, we had a positive media attention, and the analytics went up. There was a bump up of 50 users over the 7 days after this media event, and 48 new website users. Next slide, please. Oops, the next one. I've already gone past that one. Thank you. Anyway, some of the analytics which I thought were pretty fascinating. Of the people that went to the website, you can see in this graphic that the top 10 states, there was 2,117 people from California, but then there was interest from all over the country. And these are not all the states, but it's interesting to see how the interest and the word got out there. No doubt with the internet and all. Additional analytics are that there was a 66% bounce rate, meaning that people went to the site and then they left right away. But there was, on average, people stayed there for approximately 3 minutes, and they viewed 3 pages. So that was just kind of what the users were. There was also about 70% were desktop computer users and 30% mobile device users. Next slide, please. This is a similar analytic data about the cities, even within California, from which the users that went to the site, where are they from? Well, mostly from San Francisco, many from Salinas, Sacramento, Watsonville, etc. You can see Watsonville, there was 120 website users from Watsonville. Only 55% of the users were from California, I may be looking at the wrong slide. Next slide, please. Okay, we also have a survey on the website, and survey results were I think, very positive. There was 3 questions that were asked. The first question, the website content is useful. We have 13 respondents, and 85% of those respondents strongly agreed or agree with that statement. Next slide, please. The next question in the survey, I will sign up for fumigation notifications. We had 12 responses, and 67% strongly agreed or agreed that they would sign up for the fumigation notification. 33% disagreed. Next slide, please. Next question on the survey. The website is a beneficial tool for the community. We have 13 responses. 92% strongly agreed or agreed that the website is a beneficial tool. Next slide, please. Here's an interesting piece of information here. Within the Pajaro Valley Unified School District and the North Monterey County School District, 67% of children ages 5 to 17 have Spanish spoken at the home. Now, we did translate the website fully into Spanish in 2018. There was 8% of the total views of the Farming Safety New School's website was of the Spanish version. In the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, there are, in the Hall District, there's 534 students. In Ohlone Elementary, there's 431, and Pajaro Middle, there's 458. So that kind of gives you an idea of the potential of folks that might view the site, might sign up for the notifications, but I really like to see the numbers of the people that actually do. Next slide, please. So, for me, the big factor in all of this was promotion of the site, getting people to the site. And so, another one of the ideas from the stakeholder meetings was that this idea of having these cards developed so that it would tell people a little bit about the project and then tell them how to get there. So we developed these cards, and they were front and back, English, Spanish, and we distribute them widely. Our stakeholder partners also distribute these widely. We put them on our website. The school districts also posted it on their website as well. Next slide, please. So I want to get into a little bit of the discussion point. I'm certain that the board is aware that, but for the benefit of the general public that may be listening to this presentation, the County Ag Commissioners work by law under the direction of the Director of the Department of Pesticide Regulation. So I wanted to show that DPR, the Department of Pesticide Regulation, has many code sections already to address notification. And so I listed those in this slide, and you can see those, you can go visit the website and find these code sections. But there's many code sections already dealing with notification. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but they're already, and in addition to these, there are label requirements that also require notification. In some instances, pesticide labels require a dual notification, posting of a sign as a notification, and then all notification. As I said, in some instances, the pesticide label may require both notifications. The Department of Pesticide Regulation also developed some recommendations to Ag Commissioners. If Ag Commissioners can follow or not, I always follow those recommendations because I think they make sense. And in this case, the Department of Pesticide Regulation made some recommendations with regards to fumigate use, and there's additional requirements for notification to properties nearby, properties that might be within a buffer zone of a fumigation, notification to what we call tarp cutters and tarp pullers. These are the folks that come in after the fumigation to rip the plastic tarps off. They're also required to receive a notification. So the point I want to bring up here is that when DPR sees that there is a need for notification, this is what they have done historically. And the question of these notifications of this sort is a statewide issue. And I know DPR has been in discussions with some of our same partner stakeholders to deal with that issue. Next slide, please. So, in sending out these notifications, we found that there was a heightened scrutiny of the fumigations. Our partners, say, of safe access schools, at least on a number of occasions, it seemed like they attempted to stop scheduled fumigation. In one instance, they had flyers spread out, distributed through one of the neighborhoods, telling them, telling folks in the flyer that, warning them that there was a dangerous fumigation, and to call Henry Gonzalez to express concern. I had my phone number there. But interestingly, nobody ever called. There was a third occasion when they went a little bit further and they actually challenged one of the permits. So they received a notification about one of the fumigations and they attempted to, or they filed an appeal of the permit. And so we had to take a week to review every single detail about that fumigant permit issuance. And in the end, we felt that it met all of the requirements. And then, as is their right, they appealed our decision to the director of the California Department of Pesticide Regulations, who also reviewed our documentation of our review, and in the end said that it was in accordance with all of the laws and regulations, and so that fumigation was allowed to continue. But that's one of the outcomes of the fumigation notification effort. It kind of became a warning system. Next slide, please. So we expanded, or we attempted to expand into North Monterey County Unified School District, and it was a success in limited fashion. In that we did get the schools out there. We were looking to provide notifications. I believe some folks signed up for notifications for those schools, but our big disappointment was that there was not that much interest from the stakeholders in the North Monterey County Unified School District area. As a matter of fact, it got to the point where our stakeholder outreach person would call people back to go through the questions with them, and they wouldn't answer the phone and they wouldn't return calls. So it was very disappointing that we were not as successful as we were in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District once we tried to expand into the North Monterey County Unified School District. We believe that there was, and this was borne out in stakeholder outreach, that people have other pressing matters in their lives that require their attention: immigration status, safe drinking water, food security, gangs, drugs, different things that didn't have these mitigations were not their attention. Next slide, please. So there were still a lot of remaining questions for us. Here's a few. What is the expected outcome or purpose of a notification to parents in schools? that might be a better question for DPR to answer. What are parents to do with such information? Yeah, I skipped over a part where, with regards to the regulations for schools and pesticides. Now, this project started in 2016, and in 2018, the pesticide in school regulation kicked in, and it really made the whole project less relevant because it eliminated almost all pesticide applications of any sort, restricted or not, fumigant or not, within a quarter mile of the school. And it limited those fumigant or all pesticide, almost all pesticide applications to the weekends and holidays, any day when there was no students at the school. This new regulation limited or prohibited pesticide applications, almost all of them, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So with regards to fumigation, fumigations could only be performed on Saturday, and they had to be done at 6 p.m. because a label requirement required that they could not, that they had to finish the application 36 hours before school started, before the students were back in school. So they had to finish no later than 6 p.m. on Saturday, so 36 hours were passed before the children were back at the school and everybody else back at the school. So that also happened, and when these regulatory changes happen like that, it really can throw such these efforts, we just make them less relevant, and in this case, that's what happened with the addition of the pesticide in schools regulation. Really almost made it a moot point, but that's the rule of regulations, I suppose. Next slide, please. Okay, so, and additional questions, what are schools to do with that information when they receive the notification of either there was or there will be a fumigation on Saturday, no one will be there, maybe the janitors, but students and faculty will not be there, but that's when the fumigation is going to occur. How does this notification impact the daily activities of the schools and or the lives of the families to know that fumigation is going to happen on Saturday? Maybe if they had planned to go there with the school to play softball or something, they won't go. But anyway, those are questions that were out there that we still kind of ponder. Next slide, please. So even as far back as, actually going back to 2019, but in January 2020 of this year, the grant team decided to pursue an amendment to extend the pilot through December of 2020, even though it's going to end in June 30th of this year. And so we wanted to submit an extension, but DPR only wanted new proposals, new ideas. But they did agree, DPR did agree that the remaining $10,000 that were in the grant that we hadn't spent and we thought we wouldn't spend, that we could use that part of the grant through December 2020 to continue with our efforts of additional community outreach. Very specifically, what I thought we needed to do was to go back and revisit those families of the poverty by school districts and put more effort into making sure that they know about CGJ, they know about the website, that if they want to sign up for the notification, they can. I thought there wasn't enough of that, and so wanted to go back and pursue that. But the nature of that community engagement and the COVID-19 pandemic, it really made communication with the families of the students of the school district what we thought was an insurmountable complexity. So we decided not to continue with that amendment to the district. Now I had stopped the project at that point. Both the really expressed their desire to continue. And so I reversed myself and decided to continue with the notification, at least for the remainder of this year. We've already seen that we've had technical difficulties with the website, that we've had to get repairs fixed, addressed. So for this particular effort, there is no additional funding, but that's something that we folks will be talking about, if there's any additional funding for this, or regulations from DPR is put forward to require this. I don't know, but it was an interesting process. We're still undergoing it, and at this point, I think I have my final slide that will provide my contact information. Next slide, please. And I'll take any questions that you may have at this point about the project or.
Thank you, Henry. One quick question, what's the current status of the project? I know it wasn't on the slide, so if I could just inquire.
The current status is ongoing.
Thank you.
We're still live. The website is still live. All that information is still there.
Okay.
If folks want to sign up for the fumigation notifications, they still can. We're still in fumigation season. We're getting close to the end. Should be done by early October, I think. And after that, there'll be no notification, so there'll be no fumigation.
Any other questions from board members before we go to the public? I see Supervisor Adams has her hand up.
Thank you. Thanks very much for this really interesting presentation, Larry. And I just wanted to ask two questions. What were the key lessons that you feel were learned through these projects? And what would you do differently if there were additional funding to expand or continue the program?
Well, stakeholder engagement and communication is very labor intensive with associated costs. Working with stakeholders across several sectors, and you may remember that one slide that has the bubbles. Each one of those bubbles is different stakeholder, and each stakeholder has their own perspective on this effort, their own role, etc. So that made it very challenging for us. I know the families of the Upper Valley, like school district students, were in the middle, but I kind of feel we were in the center of all of that as well, because we were receiving all that input, and at times a little bit of pressure here and there with regards to some of the stakeholders. That's what made it most challenging. There were many different notions about this, and I still hear about it, and you probably will hear about it, and the state hear about it. Notions like we have a right to know what's sprayed or applied near us. Every time I hear that, I wonder, well, what do you mean near us? What I've been hearing from the activists since I got here is that 2 miles, they want notification. And so that's not exactly near us. So really, that needs to be defined. What do you mean near us? If I'm here in my home and there's an application, well, if I'm here in my office and there's an application right there, 30 feet away, do I want to know? Maybe. I think fear of the unknown is what we're dealing with. And as important as it is to be safe, it is also important to feel safe. And if you don't know what's applied right where you can see this tractor applying, then fear of the unknown is going to kick in. And so I can see that there is definitely a need and merit in knowing. But do I really need to know what's happening a mile away, 2 miles away, half a mile away? I don't know.
Supervisor Parker?
There we are. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gonzalez, I think you mentioned that the website is still live and that you are posting some of the information that you used to post, but you're just not doing new outreach. Could you just remind me?
Exactly. The website is still live. People can go there, visit it, either English or Spanish version. You can still do the survey. You can still sign up for text or email notifications. What we're not doing is what we have proposed, and because of COVID and the nature of the outreach to the community, the personal interactions, even if it is over the phone now, that's what we're not doing at this point. Is continuing with more targeted outreach to the parents of the students that attend school.
Thank you.
Supervisor Phillips.
I guess I should say something since all these schools are in my district, but since we started the program, I haven't heard any concerns expressed by the schools. And I appreciate your presentation, Henry. It was very good, thorough. But tell me what you mentioned, that now the applications have to be, can't be done on a Monday through Friday, have to be done on a Saturday or holiday before 6 o'clock. How has that impacted the relevancy of the website and the program?
Well, before 2018, and actually the 36 hours is a label, specified label. So, but before the specified and school regulation kicked in 2018, there could be restricted use pesticide and fumigation around schools. But after that, you cannot have almost all pesticide applications within a quarter mile of the school are now prohibited between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So the notification of a fumigation would not happen. The fumigation can now only happen on Saturday morning and no later than 6 p.m. because 36 hours must pass before students go back to the school. If the fumigation is within a quarter mile of the school, you cannot apply within 36 hours of school being in session. And so, because of the pesticide and school regulations kicked in at 6 a.m., then that becomes your limit. You cannot conduct an fumigation other than on a morning, on a Saturday, or if it's a 3-day weekend, you could do it on Friday as well. But otherwise, you limit it to Saturday. I will share that in working with the Papa Valley Unified School District, specifically Dr. Rodriguez, she had some of the school activities moved from Saturday so that the fumigations could take place. Otherwise, the fumigations would not be able to take place because there was other activities on the school properties that were similar, if not exactly the same thing as having students there Monday through Friday. If the students are there, then it creates the same risk and that we're trying to avoid. And so she was very magnanimous, I think, work with the growers to move those Saturday activities to another day, another weekend, and thus allowing the fumigations to go forward. She didn't have to do what she did.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. At this point, seeing no other supervisor hands up, I'm going to go out to the public. We're going to go and start with folks in chambers. 1 minute for public speaking. Take the lead off, man.
Thank you all. My name is Demetrio Brunera. in light of the fact that we are going through a lot of chaos with bigger hurricanes, tornadoes, and fires, and the COVID-19, our young brothers and sisters, and all the employees in our Monterey County K through college schools do not need any added stress or worry. Instead, they must be assured that our elected officials and those working under our elected officials are working to provide students and employees K through college a safe, stress-free, worry-free working environment. Mr. Gonzalez shall understand that any hazardous fumigation or insecticides, pesticides, herbicides in or close to our school campuses must be clearly and effectively communicated to all students, parents, and guardians, and workers. It is our constitutional right and birthright to have this information. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bernal. Anybody else in chambers?
May I address that statement?
We'll get to that after all the comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair Lopez and Board of Supervisors. My name is Hector Calderon. I'm with SAS, a member and a farmer as well. And today, I just wanted to do a comment that Henry had said that pesticides aren't a pressing matter. As a matter of fact, it is a pressing matter because we, people want to know about these particular issues, and I think that you're making an understatement about that particular topic. And so I think that Safe Act, Safe Schools Coalition really wants to know the right to know about pesticides, and we had brought in an actual petition today with 300 folks that we had actually put in the actual chambers and was removed. And all of those people on that petition were technically coming to say that they want the right to know about what pesticides are being applied, not only near their schools, but in their communities. And so as a part of SAS, I think the two things that we're really asking is that he expand the notification systems not only into the entire Monterey County. And so that is our one ask, along with him giving the NOIs and publicly putting those on the Ag Commissioner's website. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in chambers? Okay, I'm going to go to Zoom. I see 4 hands up. I'm going to start with Karen Cameron. Karen, you have the ability to unmute yourself and share a 1-minute public comment with this board.
Thank you. I am a Salinas area school teacher, also a school district St. Patrick School. Concerned about several things. First, I can testify. I have been a school teacher working at Saturday school where pesticides were applied and children were sent home. So it does happen both ways. I'm concerned that what I heard the Ag Commissioner and the members state was that in Ottawa Valley, the highest number of notifications was 9. In 2018, there were 8. So comparing that to the overall county, with 113,000 annual pesticides, 12,800 of those with restricted use, I would question whether Ottawa Valley was the best use of the money. It seems to be kind of a token program. While it was first in the state, it hasn't addressed any school in the Salinas area. I would suggest that he take his $10,000 remaining and go meet with Janine Guss from Monterey County Office of Education, who has background with Chamacos way back in Soledad, and ask her to work with him. She's already indicated that she could quickly send out notifications to all the different superintendents within her school district in Monterey County and would work with us willingly. I believe that we could work together cooperatively to maximize what's left of this, to get the word out, not just to these
Thank you, Karen. We're over time. Thank you very much. We're going to go to Cesar Lara next. Mr. Lara, we're going to let you unmute yourself and share a 1-minute public comment with this board.
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Supervisors. Cesar Lara with the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council, and was one of the people that negotiated with the previous Ag Commissioner the rollout of this program, and kind of called to question kind of the background on what the intent of the first phase of the project was in Ottawa Valley. Was the initial thought with the previous Ag Commissioner was it would definitely be a pilot, but it would definitely be a pilot to work on the mechanics of the website, work on the kinks, and then go to phase two, where we'll expand it in different parts of Monterey County. And part of the conversation there was the relationships that the unions have, and the teachers, and the classified, and the parents. And the students would have, and how it is now in Bajo Valley, each school has a number of teachers that have signed up for the notification, and they spread that information out to the rest of the teachers and work. And so some of the slides that the Ag Commissioner said was, what should the school districts do? I think back then with the previous Ag Commissioner was.
Mr. Lattimore, over time, do you want to wrap it up for me?
Just to say that this program needs to be expanded to different parts of the county. And the catalyst of this was a report that came out years ago to show that Monterey County had the worst exposure to pesticides around schools, more than any county in California. And we've been working with the state to address these.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore. I'm sorry, we're way over time now. Thank you. I'm going to go to DP next. DP, we're going to go ahead and give you the ability to unmute yourself and share a 1-minute public comment with this board.
Hello, Daniel Pasquilla, Salinas resident. So, I guess first thing, I'd like this program to get expanded across Monterey County, and I just wanted just a few things. So, in terms of outreach, I feel like a lot more could have been done. It's free to join Facebook. It's free to join IG. Having infographics talking about the health effects, it's just to reach a wider audience. There's no Facebook presence, there's no social media presence of this. So if you make a website and it just exists in the corner of the internet, nobody's going to find out about it unless it's on social media nowadays. So that's one of the things, having printed material mailed to people's houses, if it's in a certain area. What else? I live near Montebella, Arnell College, El South Campus, Mount Toro High School, Salinas Adult School. So these schools are feet away from like a field. And so I'm pretty sure a lot of these students or teachers and people that work there would like to get the notification.
Thank you. We're over a minute. We appreciate your public comment. We're going to go to Alexis Magdaleno next. Alexis, you have the ability to unmute yourself and share a 1-minute public comment with this board.
Well, buenas tardes. My name is Alexis Magdaleno. I'm a resident of Soledad. First of all, I want to honor and acknowledge the original people of the clan, Coloni, Cohen, the Indian people, and the descendants. I'm here to say that I support the recommendations by SAS. I think it's incredibly important that the community knows when pesticides are being sprayed, not only in the schools, but also near schools, but also near the community. It's important for us to know. It's valuable information, and just like people want to know how many COVID cases there are here in Monterey County, where the cases are, who's getting affected. We also want to know where pesticides are being sprayed, why and where, and when. It's just as important. And so again, I support everything that SAS is recommending. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. We're going to go with Nick Musney next. Nick, give you the ability to unmute yourself and share a minute public comment with this board.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we distinguish the difference between lack of will versus lack of education. I think what's missing in this program is community education about the.
I'm sorry, Nick. I'm going to go ahead and let you restart, but could you do me a favor and get a little closer to your microphone? It's really hard to hear you here in chambers.
Oh,
That's
that
much
better?
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to, make sure we make the distinction between lack of will versus lack of education. I think that if people really knew the growing body of research around the negative effects of fumigation from reproductive harm, cancer to respiratory illness, I feel that there would be a much stronger will, and I think it is the duty of the agricultural commissioner to disseminate and educate this information to the people. The mission is of the agricultural commissioner is is dedicated to worker health and safety, the protection of environmental resources, and the promotion of the agricultural sector of Monterey County. I think we've relied too heavily on the promotion of the agricultural sector. We have to take on this big industry and hold it accountable. Yes, it provides lots of jobs and necessary food for us, but it has to be done in a way that protects the residents, the students, and the community members in our area. So the lingering questions of what should parents do with this information, I think, really the goal here is to wean our industry off of these hazardous uses. So this is just one step, and I think the basic step that we need to
Thank
take
you, Nick.
in order to
We're far over a
make
minute. We appreciate your public comment. Thank you, Nick. We're going to go to Bobby Joe Garcia next. Bobby Joe.
Good morning, Bobby Jo Garcia, lifelong resident of Greenville. Throughout my life, it's always been normal to witness the dispersal of pesticides without any warning to the public. Your regulations and all the, laws only work if they're actually enforced. Most know the dangers regarding pesticide exposure, yet there are no meaningful safeguards in place for residents to utilize to protect themselves. The Ag Commissioner and the board love to say how much they care for our local communities, but I've seen little to no action taken to even at least attempt to ensure the safety of South Monterey County residents from pesticide exposure and other harms that are caused by the ag industry. The Ag Commissioner must present a timeline for expanding the Farming Safe in Your Schools pilot program to all Monterey County schools and include all pesticides in its reporting, not just fumigants. As an immediate action, the Ag Commissioner needs to make all notices of intent public on the county website, and I also agree with the expanding to social media because it's just one website. There needs to be more exposure. And also wind exists. Just to throw that out there, a 2-mile notice or radius is not an unreasonable idea. Come to South County and you can check out the wind for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Sue Paris next. Sue Paris, you have 1 minute to share public comment with this board.
Thank you. I'm Sue Paris, and I live in District 5, and I think that's important to note that that even people who don't live immediately in agricultural area have concerns about this, and because I eat food, and I'm very grateful to all of the huge workforce that provides the food that comes to my table, and I don't want my family exposed to the fumigants and pesticides, and I don't think anybody's family should be. I appreciate the work that Commissioner Gonzalez and the task force and the community members have done on this program so far, and I strongly support the continuance and the recommendations of Safe Ag, Safe Schools. And as Commissioner Gonzalez noted, that people need to feel safe, and so I appreciate that should be a really commitment to transparency and more information, and hopefully, in spite of a seemingly adversarial relationship that's been set up with staff, that there's an opportunity to work together to do the sufficient outreach to really bring families into this.
Thank you, Sue. We're going to go to Horacio Mesquita next. Horacio, you have the ability to unmute yourself and share 1 minute public comment with this board.
Chair Lopez, Supervisors.
Can you get a little closer to your mic for us, Horacio? We'll go ahead and restart your time. It's just hard to hear you as well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to comment that it would be better if not just the schools, but all residents be protected, because pesticides are very dangerous. Fumigants, they kill everything in the soil. They kill nematodes, they kill weeds, they kill the all living organisms. Same as pesticides, they kill insects, they kill mice. Herbicides, they kill weeds, they expand the trees. So if these pesticides kill, they can hurt the health of the residents of Monterey County. So it would be much better if every resident in Monterey County knows when they're going to be those pesticides going to be applied, so they can protect themselves, especially with the restricted materials that are very dangerous. They can easily be transported by land. And think all the residents need to be informed of whatever pesticides are used near their area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Horacio. We're going to go to Abby Taylor Silva next. Abby, we're going to give you 1 minute to share public comment with this board. You should be able to unmute your microphone now.
Thank you so much for having me. With the Grower Shipper Association and Abby Taylor Silva. GSA was very proud to work with Commissioner Morrison previously and community partners to help craft this pilot in 2016. And we've continued to support this pilot since its launch. Today, I know you've heard from community members that asked that this program be expanded considerably. And we ask that any consideration of that take into account a couple of things. Regarding the Ag Commissioner's Office staffing, this office does critical work that helps to ensure that fumigants and other materials are applied carefully and appropriately. We don't want to see new programs added to staff schedules that detract from their current workload, as we think that could lead to unintended consequences. Additionally, significantly expanding the footprint of this pilot without planning and prioritization of resources will likely set up unrealistic expectations and could lead to some mistakes that would lessen its effectiveness. So, we wanted to be a part of this discussion. We think it deserves some thoughtful consideration of resources and staff capacity to facilitate any changes. GSA is very happy to re-engage in this discussion and work with the Ag Commissioner's Office and stakeholders.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor Silva. We're going to go to Kathleen and Woody next. Kathleen and Woody, we're going to give you the ability to unmute yourself if you let me know up front if it's just one of you or two of you like last week.
There are two of them.
Okay, we're going to start the first block.
Thank you. My name is Woody Rehannick. I'm with SAS Watsonville. I live in a senior community in northeastern Watsonville, adjacent to ag land, which was fallow and has since been fumigated. We've managed to work with Ag Commissioner Juan Hidalgo and Deputy Commissioner Dave Stanford to get notifications for over 1,000 seniors and 3 homeowners associations in this part of Watsonville. It's been a very convivial and cooperative relationship, as well as with the grower and his applicator, telling people who, what, where, when, why are fumigant application, so that seniors could take action to protect themselves, kind of like we do checking air quality during wildfires, that people could sequester in place, not go on the levee trail by Corralitas Creek and so on, taking actions which made them feel safe. Those transparency of information is empowering for all people, not just seniors. And we're hoping that all people in California will eventually be given the opportunity to receive advance notification of application of restricted materials, which is really our right to know. That transparency is
Thank you,
very
Woody. Your time's up.
Thank
You might transfer the microphone over to Kathleen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Kathleen. I did spend some time with the website and also with both reports. And I do have a lot of relevant training and experience to kind of critique them in it, but the time is too short to do that. But I just want to say that my experience working with the school district, with staff, and with my union doesn't really match the level of engagement that Mr. Gonzalez reported. If all those meetings happened, it's surprising to me that I heard so little about them. I think the website is a good step, but it could use some improvement. I also think it dovetails with the information that the grand jury was requesting, and because it's much more public-oriented, and I think to abandon the website would be to lose an opportunity to fulfill that other function. I would really like Mr. Gonzalez to not see staff as the enemy. We are stakeholders. We're teachers, we're families, we're all kinds of people, and not everybody who's spoken here is even a staff member. And if you read to the end of the report, to the very last appendix of the outreach done,
Kathleen, we're over time already. You mind
people want this information.
Thank you very much.
I think you'll see it reinforces what the grand jury said. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Agustin Angel next. Agustin, we're going to give you the ability to unmute yourself and share a 1-minute public comment with this board.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you guys for having me. I just want to say, as a community organizer who works closely with youth leaders from communities like Gonzales, Soledad, Chulat, and other communities from southern Monterey County, we strongly believe that farming safely near school pilot project needs to expand from an investment as a pilot project to a fully developed program that will notify all residents of Monterey County. We echo previous comments about the necessity to promote social media outreach to reach all of Monterey County so all community residents feel safe and protected. As reported, $250,000 commitment was invested for this project. This investment cannot go to waste. The investment needs to hold its value and sake of protecting our community and health as long-term commitment for our future generations to come. With recent hardship weather conditions endured here in the West Coast, including Salinas Valley, farm workers are still at the front line maintaining agricultural fields, providing food, and encouraging their children to stay in school. To the very least, all community residents must receive a proper notification about pesticide spraying from the commissioner. Our current movement,
Can you wrap it up for me, or over time?
Yeah, of course. The lack of transparency from the Agricultural Commission, who claims to protect and serve the community, only displays the consequences in Junior's practice of the position. Please take our words into consideration. We want to continue working with you to ensure the actual protection and sustain of human rights of clean environment away from pesticides.
Thank you, Agustin. We appreciate your public comment. We're going to go to Sarai Martinez next. Sarai, we'll give you the ability to unmute yourself and share a 1-minute public comment with this board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, my name is Saray Martinez, also a resident here in Monterey County. For the past year, I worked as an organizer with Safe by Safe Schools and now have a new position. But I wanted to just mention that we have been trying to work with the Appt Commissioner to extend the notification project without success. It's now in the hands of the Board of Supervisors. I urge you that you take steps and that expand or fair timeline for expansion, and that you make notices of intent public. I think that as Commissioner mentioned earlier in the presentation that there's only few notices of intent. Those are the most dangerous pesticides. There's no responsibility on the ag industry because everything the ag commissioner already has is matter to put it into a website, and I think that doesn't take time to do it or resources, as is mentioned. So I urge you, and as you've seen from the many community testimonies, this is a need from the community, and I know that many others may not be able to speak due to the language barriers as the meeting is only streamed in English. So I urge the board to really take a step in protecting our communities. I think now this is in your hands, so I hope that everyone steps up, and I really not just
Thank you, Sarai. We're over time. We appreciate your public comment. We're going to go to Carol next. Carol's iPhone. We're going to go ahead and give you the ability to unmute yourself and share a 1-minute public comment with this board.
Thank you. I would like to point out the absence of some clarification about some of Mr. Gonzalez's comments. The problems with clarity are severe because a lot of information is available online and has been for at least 20 years. I think Chamacos is one of the groups that is listed as a stakeholder. Chamacos' own literature shows that these dangers have been identified for at least 20 years, some of them longer. These are ongoing longitudinal studies, so they are very telling about the incidence of exposure to children. I can't understand Mr. Gonzalez claiming that there have been no reported incidences of illness or injury from pesticides. That doesn't jive with what comes even in the Herald, Monterey Herald, for heaven's sake, let alone in the people who live in the Salinas Valley and know people who get sick and who may not get treated because you might lose your job if you say, I feel sick.
Thank you, Carol. We're over time. We appreciate your public comment.
All right.
So with that, I'm going to close public comment, bring it back to the board. And at this point, Mr. Gonzalez, I know we heard a lot there. I want to see if you have any responses to all that public comment we just received.
I do, appreciate the opportunity to respond because I think that, there is a need for information about pesticides, what they are. With regards to pesticide regulations, it is the U.S. EPA has the first responsibility to register online a pesticide. They don't just accept an application. The registrant, the applicant, has to submit their studies, their trials, their efficacy data, everything that is required by the U.S. EPA to demonstrate that their pesticide will work as they claim, and that the protective measures to be able to use that pesticide safely are also identified and have become a requirement on the label. How to use it, how to protect yourself, what you need to wear, distances, buffer zones, periods of time that you can apply, wind conditions, et cetera, all of it goes into that registration cost. Then, the California Department of Pesticide Regulation also has its own pesticide registration process, and so pesticide registrants need to do additional work on registering pesticides here in California. California is much more restricted than most of the world, and certainly more than the US EPA. I showed a slide showing a number of the regulations that the Department of Pesticide Regulation has already in place with regards to notification. They are the experts. They have the hundreds of scientists, environmental scientists that review the toxicity of these pesticides, can it be used safely, how can it be used safely, et cetera, et cetera. It is they that make these determinations. It's not the Ag Commission. Those regulations then come down to me, and it is my job to enforce those regulations. Now, somebody mentioned the Chamaco study. Just FYI, I serve on the community advisors for Chamaco. So I'm very aware of work with them. I came back from Ventura County, and I was actually at the first meeting 20-something years ago when Brenda Scanazi from Chamaco first introduced the ideas and concept of the study that she's engaged in. With regards to expanding, I think that for me, the experience that we had with the North Monterey County School District and the people in that area, even though we conducted the same outreach efforts as we did in Pablo Valley, it really told me that many people are not that interested in general about these issues. For whatever reason, they have other concerns. Somebody mentioned providing additional information about pesticides, more than our website. I agree. This past year, or within the past year, we established a couple of additional outreach efforts. We do have a Facebook page, and we do have now a quarterly newsletter that we need to get additional information out there. Can we do more? Everything that we do is at a cost of something else. I'll tell you, our staff are fully loaded up with all the legal mandates that we are already required to perform. I really do not believe I can add more. If I do add more, it means I just change. I'll add more of this, but it's going to have us lose something else. The investigations that we conduct, we really need to provide a lot of time and effort in observation, evidence gathering, and then analysis, preparing reports, because these are all legal documents that can be challenged and from time to time are challenged legally by those if they come to us. So we really, I cannot add more to the work of our staff. Unless there's additional funding and additional space, because we're out of space here as well. Somebody mentioned about lack of real or education. Well, again, US EPA and far as pesticide regulation, they do not lack real, they do not lack education, they have all of the information. I know that the advocacy groups are providing that information, universities are providing that information to the Department of Pesticide Regulation. It is they who gather that information, their own studies, and look at everything before they put forth a proposal for additional regulation, such as what's being suggested here. Farmers, in my experience, they already communicate, not all of them, but many of them already communicate with their neighbors about their pesticide applications and with the schools before they conduct their pesticide applications. Now, one of the missing components in this pilot project was to establish a baseline. How many farmers are already constantly communicating with their neighbors, with the schools about their pesticide applications? That is what was missing. There was not a baseline established. At the very beginning, that's what should have happened. You should have been a baseline. Then you can measure it. You can measure your effort after the fact and go, how much did we improve that? But we did establish a baseline, so there's no knowing what, if anything, that is. And just to reiterate, the 12 years that there's not been a ag pesticide application related illness. That's the fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. That now it's up to the board to make any comments. And I guess I would just ask County Council, what's the extent of any action or direction that the board can give today, seeing that this is to receive a report? I think that's how it's agendized.
Thank you, Chair, or Vice Chair. In my opinion, you can take any action related to this topic of the report. The agenda does not specifically need to list that it's an action item or receive a report only. So the topic was noticed as required under the Brown Act, and I think if the board wanted to give specific direction related to the topic, they are free to do so.
Great, thank you. All right, any board members with comments or wanting to provide any direction? Welcome back, Mr. Chair. I'll hand it back to you. Just asking if anyone has any comments or wants to provide any direction on this item. And we're awaiting hands.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Adams, I see you unmuted.
Yes, thank you. I think that it will be important for us, and through the Commissioner's office, to really hear the words that were said to us today. And I think so much of it does come down to a term that you used, and that is the communication. Both communication with the schools, with the children, with the residents, and also with the entire community that you represent in the work that you do, and with us as board members also. Because I think the more that we can talk about the issues surrounding the use of pesticides, particularly, as you had mentioned, what are the outcomes? What are we seeing? Are there hot spots throughout our county where pesticide use may be heavier than in other places? I think that's a really important thing for us to be able to do. But it's a subject that I think we should be dealing with in a very even-handed way without people being frightened by the mere mention of the word. But just to go back to, again, what I had said at the beginning, that I think if I could offer any advice or desire, it would be that you keep your door open and that the staff group also keep theirs open so that there is an absolute flow of information and some trust building so that we can continue to move forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor. We're going to go to Supervisor Parker next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just express my appreciation to the Ag Commissioner for this report today and all the work on this pilot project. I think, as one of the public speakers mentioned, there has been a lot learned, and the website has been developed. A lot of kinks have been worked out in terms of the Spanish language version of the website. The notifications that have been provided seem to really be welcomed by the pilot group. And I think from the public comments today, it's clear that there is a broader interest. And I don't know if we are going to be able to have a full discussion today because but I would like to direct that either the Ag Commissioner come back, say in the next 30 days, with an item on the agenda for us to talk about the possibilities of expanding the pilot to all the schools, what that would take, and hear from Dr. Gus and, others who might be able to help make that happen. I also think the suggestion that all permits to apply pesticides, or I may not be getting the language quite right because I don't live and breathe this every day, but this idea of there being notifications on the Ag Commissioner's website or the Safe Schools one, I don't really mind where it goes as long as it's easy for people to find, could be something of value to this community because there is quite a bit of interest. And I'd like to hear from, maybe from IT about ways that those, permits or the notifications or whatever the proper term is, how those could be easily added to the website, without causing a lot more work for the Ag Commissioner and your staff, because I think you do have mandated, required activities. I think this probably should be one also, but it isn't at the moment. And I think in keeping with this pilot being something that clearly garnered interest across the country and has been at the forefront, really in a leadership position to do this, I think continuing it in ways that are helpful to the community and also doable, on the part of staff would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm going to go to Supervisor Alejo next.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to just respond. I don't know how much real interest there has been garnered around this program because no other county, no other, not only California, but across the state has not replicated the pilot program we have here. So just to say there's a lot of interest doesn't really mean that others have moved on it. In fact, this program was started with the grant from the Department of Pesticide Regulation, and even under a very progressive administration, under Gavin Newsom, that funding has not been extended for this program. So there's real concerns expressed that there is limited resources, and had the governor or Department of Pesticide thought that this program was as effective as it said, it would have extended its funding, which it has not. And so I do want to just point out, though, as was stated earlier, California is, and being a former CRLA attorney that dealt with a lot of these cases, California has the most stringent regulation and laws regarding pesticide use and posting anywhere in the country, certainly in the world. And so we just have to recognize that pesticide use has gone down significantly in the last 20 years from what the use was 20 years ago to 10 years ago. If you monitor the reports about pesticide use in Monterey County, they have gone down significantly. And there'll be some people who are never satisfied, and I certainly appreciate the concerns that were raised today by the community members, the activists. All points of view are to be welcome and heard here. But our Ag Commissioner's Office, I think, has been on the forefront of doing a lot of good work, of looking after the interests of our community, and certainly at a point where he was looking to end this pilot program, he reversed and is now implemented it. So there'll be some who will not be happy with that. I get it, but I feel comfortable where we're at right now. This needs more time to just continue as it is, but at the same time, for people to say that we're not doing anything, I mean, there's more done in this county to protect workers and communities, and the only county that has a pilot program where nobody else has stepped up, not even other coastal counties like Santa Cruz or SLO, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. They have not done what we have done. We have been the leaders that need to be recognized and not dismissed. And by those who just want more from, and I get it, the advocates are going to want more than what we're doing now, but no other county has stepped up. And there is a legitimate concern about resources and funding for this program. And so I do want to just recognize Henry's work, and I do appreciate community members who also help continue to raise concerns from the community. But we do have to recognize the good work that has been done by this county and no other. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Phillips.
Just briefly, I concur with Supervisor Alejo's comments, and I'm on the district where these are being applied, and I haven't seen the concern. I've heard from a few of the activists, but I haven't seen the concern. A lot of the interest being expressed in this is coming from outside the state and outside the district where these are being applied. So I feel comfortable that our communities are being safely protected. And I thank Henry for all he's done.
Thank you, Supervisor. On my behalf, I think the place I'm comfortable today, I have met with the advocates, I've met with everybody on every side of this issue multiple times over the last couple of years. And for me, my commitment was any decision that I made was going to be based off the data. And when we run a pilot program, the focus on that is to own it and improve it. And looking at the numbers, I don't think we're there yet. It's not ready for a rollout. With only a couple hundred local visits to the website, last night I published something and I looked at how many hits it got in actual engagements, and it got 2,400 engagements in 18 hours. And that, that's just a simple form of sharing information. And so when it comes back to how do you promote the website, I think that's on everybody. That's on everybody that is a partner in this. And we saw the big circle of everybody who had a piece of developing this program. I don't think that can be solely laid at the feet of the Ag Commissioner. I know that, several times, for whatever's going on in the community, I create my own flyer because I think it's got to be attractive, and I'm kind of known for that. I'm the unofficial assistant PIO here in the county because I like to make sure that the community has attractive, flyers that will draw them into an event or an issue or a cause or a website. And so looking at such low numbers of engagement and use, I think continuing the program and continuing the conversations with Henry and all those members around the table is the right way to go. That's where I'm comfortable today. I think starting to talk about rollout, we're not there yet. I mean, what we're doing right now, what we've done, the numbers don't show it. And that's been my commitment to everybody, is to base it off data. And looking at the data that we have today, I agree it wasn't the right call to end the program, and Henry's reversed course on that. And now moving forward, I think there's need for additional engagement and to continue those conversations about, okay, it's here, now we've set it up, how do we make sure that it's meeting the needs? Because right now, with such low numbers over almost 2 years, the numbers don't pan out to me. That's my position. At this point, I see a hand up from Supervisor Parker. Supervisor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So are you suggesting that maybe consultation with the stakeholders can continue to talk about how to be more effective, and then maybe we can hear back in 45 days, 60 days? Because I think there are some ideas. One challenge we know is that people don't necessarily use websites. They use other forms of communication and social media. And so I would support what you just said, to continue to work with the stakeholders and see if there are some suggestions about how to really make it work better for people. And so that, I think, makes a lot of sense if the board isn't ready to, do an expansion or have the notifications be up there for the entire county to see. I think that continued collaboration and conversation could be really helpful.
My concern around the time frame is that most of our schools are not open and probably won't be open for a while, so actually analyzing can be conducive to that.
Well, I think that's possibly true, but I think the other thing is if we can talk about how to make it effective for schools so that we're ready when the schools are back in session. The other thing is we heard from community members, and frankly, I can count myself as one. I live in Marina, which in the morning is downwind from fields that may be being fumigated, but I don't know because there's no way for me to be notified. So I think it's a broader issue than just the schools. Anyway, I'm pushing my point here, but I do think that this is something of value to the community, certainly to schools, and the Chamaco study shows that there are impacts, and as Woody said, when we have information, we are empowered to do more to keep ourselves safe. So thank you for letting me go back and forth with you on this.
No, I appreciate that. So at this point, I think I hear general direction, but I don't believe that we're here to give direction. Is that correct, Mr. County Counsel, on this item?
As I said, Chair, I think you were out of the room. The subject is fairly noticed, and I think the board can give direction related to the topic.
So for me, I'm comfortable just asking Henry to continue the program, and when appropriate, as schools come back into session, have these conversations with stakeholders. That's where I'm comfortable today with the direction.
I concur.
I'm good with that too.
I think it needs to be a motion.
That was a motion, seconded by Supervisor Phillips. Correct, Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So with that, we'll take a roll call vote on that direction. Motion.
Supervisor Leho?
Aye.
Supervisor Phillips?
Aye.
Supervisor Parker?
No.
Supervisor Adams?
Aye.
And Chair Supervisor Lopez.
Aye, the motion carries.